Hello.
Hey BSJ, what's up?
Yo. How you doing?
Yeah, good, good. I'm ready to just made legend. I'm ready to start playing some Pos One again. I've been playing a lot of Position Four, and I just remember I had a lot of questions and problems when I was playing one before that I always wondered. Is it my fault? Is it my team? And also, does it matter? Because your team keeps changing. And I know you coach a lot, so yeah, reached out to see if you wanted to. And I heard you checked out some replays that I played.
Yeah, I got I wanted I usually I've noticed that like coaching students or I don't even want to call you like a coaching student, but everyone has like their different tendencies and like views of the game. So I just want to get like a quick idea of like, what you were doing right, what you were doing wrong. Uh and so I pulled up like the replay that you sent me,
Okay.
the sniper replay. One of my favorite heroes, by the way. Love playing sniper. Um and yeah, I've got a few timestamps on here about the
Great.
game. When I watch your stream and I see you like talking about Dota with your chat and stuff, I can tell you really like to take in information and just kind of interpret it for yourself. So I kind of wanted to give you like thought points, like things to consider, rather than like telling you answers. More so like you're gonna have this decision every game. Uh, you know, this is the things you need to think about, and then go from there. Oh, did I maybe send you the wrong ID? Oh, I
Yeah,
did send you the wrong ID.
this,
Sorry.
this is your game, I think. There's a rank one
Yeah,
immortal here.
that was on the same page on my notebook, and
Are you coaching the rank one
yeah.
immortal too?
No, 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 no. It was actually the first guy in the world to hit 13K MMR. So I made a video on,
Oh, cool.
some things that I learned watching a 13K MMR guy play.
Cool.
My bad. Yeah, we're not quite there yet, myself included.
Yeah, I actually
So
seen a
go
little
ahead.
bit of your sniper content. You were saying like you should generally, I mean, generally you don't want to go into the Roshan pit.
Oh yeah. The thing about Sniper is like he's all about kiting people backwards. Like he wants people to have to chase him and like into him, like where he can hit them, but they're not close enough. So like the worst thing that he can deal with is like getting flanked or having like people come from multiple different directions.
Yeah,
And the Roche pit kind of just like they can come from any direction and you kind of just get swarmed. So it's definitely a very scary place for Sniper to exist.
makes
So
sense. So do
yeah.
you want to skip forward to the? Do you want to do any pre-analysis of the draft and my goal, or do you want to skip forward to the timestamps?
I would like to hear anything that you have, like thinking about, like you said, a goal going into today, or like what your goal is. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear anything like that first. Give me
Yeah,
some
as I,
context.
as I briefly mentioned to you before on Discord, what I struggle with is when I feel like, let's say, so what happens a lot in Archon and below is enemy will sentry block our camp. You've got like a bunch of different kinds of support. You've got like the real thoroughbred supports. They will actually feed you tangos. They pull, they depush, they even communicate. They unblock the ward. They get support items. Then you've got like the killer supports. Generally that's a 4, but it could be a 1. They only get null talisman. They never get wards. They just live for the kills nonstop. And while I was initially extremely judgmental of that kind of supporting, because it's just annoying when people don't get wards, it is what it is. Even though I can say that now with relative equanimity, generally they can be super annoying. But it is what it is. They're going to try to go for the kill, so maybe I should play alongside with that. They've got like well, I guess there's another kind of support that just does nothing at all. They neither kill nor do they do the ward game whatsoever. So you just don't know where they are. They don't seem to be doing anything. Could be my ignorance too, my lack of map awareness. But it's like it's almost better if they weren't in the lane at all. And
I
that's
saw you calling them the pigeon supports and then doing your impression of a pigeon.
pigeons, not the smartest creatures. So yeah. Now, as a 1, that's not my only problems, my support. Most of the problems are 100% to do with me. And there's some CS problems. I don't get enough CS. Maybe I played too many different ones, didn't play enough, or there's some other tricks that I could be missing. Then itemization was challenging for a long time. It's getting a little better, especially if I play heroes that mostly play a kind of common route of items. I think that helps. And so let's focus on the current. Right now, I'm gonna be against Ursa. I'm gonna be against Doom and Void. So I see Ursa buys Blink and gets Bash. Doom buys Blink and dooms me, and Void is gonna jump in as well. So it's a lot about how do I survive that jump, and who can I safely hit, and to the point where it's relevant. At this point, I mean, I wouldn't know how I could hit anyone, like if they jump on me. Like, how do I contribute? Do I just focus fully on mobility and escape? At this moment, I'm mostly focusing on the early game, but it's definitely going to come up during this game that I think maybe I should pick full saving items. But then do we do enough damage to kill them? So I don't know. Like, I don't know how I win a game like this, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. I'll address your question first, the one about like how do I survive if they go on me. One thing I've learned in my time of struggles in Dota is like, if I'm really struggling to find the answer to something, the secret generally is that there actually isn't an answer, which means like in this game, if they go on you and you're like trying to imagine how you possibly survive, like spoiler alert, I can tell you that you're not going to survive against like Ursa, Doom, Void Spirit jumping on top of you. So what I mean by that is that then the answer is you have to let them go on somebody else first. So like you have to hide, you have to not show yourself so that they go, like they get baited to use their blink dagger initiations not on you, because if they do end up blinking on you, you're just gonna die.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say you have to make sure that your death will be a valiant sacrifice.
No, you're a carry player. That's like a support mentality, you know. Like supports are the ones that, you know, if they feed and then turn into 4 kills, they're like praised as the guy who baited or whatever. As the carry player, you know, your chat's gonna be saying carried lol, you know, when that happens.
Yeah.
So I mean, in all seriousness, as a carry, it's not usually worth considering your own death. Like it's not worth like that option. You don't. That's like a. If you literally can't see any other way to take the fight than just feeding, then that's fine. But like that's like contingency, you know, worst case scenario. So like when it comes to that, it's like we'll talk more maybe over the course of this game, but like late game scenarios like that where you're trying to envision what items you're gonna buy, it's more like just the first step, I think, is to envision how you think the fight's supposed to go. Like, just generally speaking, you know, you're going to gather knowledge over the course of many games, figuring out, like, what heroes do what, you know, who likes to initiate, who likes to counter-initiate, who saves you, who likes to tank the initiation, all that kind of stuff. And then, like, you'll think on their team, you're like, that Ursa, he's probably itching to jump somebody, you know, with a blink dagger. And a lot of Dota's like that information game, you know, if you let them know where you are and they want to find you because you're a sniper, you know, you're the annoying guy in the back that they definitely want to kill, then they're probably going to jump you. So then usually the answer in those type of scenarios is more about positioning than it is about items. But then the items where they come in is like, now that we've hatched that game plan of like, we're going to let the Ursa go on Dawn or Zeus or Magnus first, then what? You know, are we gonna like hit him with Silver Edge so he doesn't have Fury swipes, and then have Hurricane Pike to disengage from the Doom? Or, you know, like what's the plan from there? You know, it's a little bit convoluted, obviously, but you kind of like theory crafted out.
So
if that makes sense.
I remember when I started getting more confident about wins in Warcraft 3, what was really important was that I have like a picture of how it looks like when we're going to be winning, a kind of a visualization.
Exactly, yeah.
And with Klinks, that is pretty clear to me. Because he is quite an independently operating hero, he almost rivals Anti-Mage in the amount of time that he's missing until he's ready to fight. He wants to farm a lot, and then once he farmed, he can kill 1 or 2 or 3 people together with a Gleipnir Daedalus blow-up combo. And that's pretty much, if you do that often enough, suddenly there are no players anymore, and then you can kill their buildings. My idea with Sniper was that he chips enemy towers alone or with team until they are angry and go on you, and then you kill them with defense, with counter engage, and maybe you reposition a bit with that. If what you say is true about this hard engage, and if what I said is true, and maybe it's not, then I am not able to attack towers because that would reveal my position. So then it would be like, I guess, regular old Dota macro. Push a lane here, push a lane there, do farming, something show up, then you leave again, rather than saying, we start the chip on the enemy tower right here, right now, we wait for them to respond, and then we crush them. So then it's not as clear to me. It's a bit more murky about how the game is going to go. It's just like a waiting game. Am I okay with a waiting game? Do we have an okay late game if I don't start chipping towers?
Yeah, so, you asked about like when your teammates mess up and they make and like they don't do their supporting job or whatever, like that kind of stuff, what you're supposed to do. I think the most important thing on any role, but especially carry, since you're like the win condition of the team and like your life generally matters more than anyone else on the team, is like, sorry, if you hear that background noise, that's really loud wind. I apologize.
Not too much.
What I was saying is that your life values more than anyone else's. So if you think something's going to happen, or if you do something that it's going to likely lead to you dying, then it's not necessarily a good thought to think, I guess, can we go late? Do we win? Like, do we have superior late game? It's more of a healthy thought to just think, I know I can't hit this tower, so I guess this game's going to go longer than I anticipated. Because if you try to do something because you feel rushed or because you think like the game has to end now, it'll generally lead to more like forced things rather than like hitting a timing that you think you have to hit.
So you don't
So
think you don't think
go
you're
ahead.
on a clock if you're against anti-mage or PA and your carry is a lifestealer or a Slark and you're not getting any team fights, so you're not getting Slark momentum, but you know that they're a really good late game? Or like if you're against a Spectre, you don't feel a sense of urgency?
It's like, okay, so for instance, if I'm playing a core like Slark and I'm against a farming hero like Anti-Mage, it's kind of like my job as Slark to try to go hunt the Anti-Mage, right? Like I'm trying to help my team kill him. So it's like
Right.
that's my hero's role in the game, and so I'll try to make calls, and I will have that sense of urgency to go kill that Anti-Mage, right?
Because
but
it's
like
what
if
Slark,
I'm playing,
it's what Slark does, and it's what Anti-Mage doesn't want. So let me ask.
Exactly.
Let me ask
ahead.
differently then. What does Sniper want?
Dire's
Well-
middle tower is under attack.
okay. Just to make sure we're on the same page, so it is what Slark wants to do and what Anti-Mage doesn't want,
Yeah.
but it's more so that Slark is capable of doing it.
Correct.
Like
yeah.
that is in his strengths and weaknesses. Like him hunting around the map is really strong because of the way his toolkit works. So I'm only saying that distinction because even if Sniper wants to hit towers, if the enemy lineup is too good at killing him when they go on him, then that's something you can't do in that game, right? That's what I'm
Understood.
trying to emphasize. So it's like maybe like if you have Aegis, right? Like that would be an example where if them jumping you and killing you is the problem, then you can't hit towers until you get Aegis. That's like a pretty common thing that happens on carry. Like you don't want to show yourself on towers until you have an Aegis.
Okay. Yeah.
And then also like when you play Sniper, there's a lot of like what you're learning is Sniper's biggest issue is he wants to hit towers, but I played this game out and I just got jumped by 3 heroes and died. Like that's pretty much what you're telling me right now.
Yeah.
And so that's like pretty much every hero in Dota has really the same problems, meaning not that every hero shares the same problems, but if you played 100 games of Sniper, you'll run into similar problems across every Sniper game. So like what I mean by that is Sniper has natural synergies in the game. Like the heroes that work the best with Sniper are ones that prevent the opponent from being allowed to jump you with 5 heroes. That's
Right.
like Mars, like a hero like Beastmaster with BKB piercing disables, stuff like that. And even though you have like Dawnbreaker and like Mag RP, you guys don't really have a frontliner. You guys don't have a guy like Dawn
Yes.
and Mag are both melee heroes that like to sit behind you.
Yes.
So it's like now you're presenting yourself on a silver platter. They don't have to like go through anybody. So that's kind of something you can learn about drafting, where it's like Sniper needs somebody who's in front of him,
Yes.
scouting,
Tide Hunter.
initiating. Exactly. Tide, Axe, or not, Axe isn't even that great. Yeah, Tide's a perfect example.
So
you know what I mean.
Dawnbreaker wants to enter the fight with her ult. And so she's
Yes.
not there until she does. She may be split pushing. Whereas Magnus, in order to get the perfect collapse, he wants to hide and then blink RP or blink bada bing bada boom and then RP. So he's not going to
Exactly.
stand in front and take lots of punishment. So as
Exactly.
much as a sniper is like an anchor in the back, you want an anchor in the front usually.
Radiant's
But you don't always get what
Exactly.
you want. However,
Yes, and
I
go
picked
ahead.
4th or 5th in my team, so maybe I made a drafting error here, is what you're saying.
The thing is that it's like that's the kind of I would say like it's not the perfect game for sniper. Absolutely. It's like so when you asked what sniper wants, he wants to have people in front of him on the map, and when he's sieging and when he's team fighting. That's pretty much what he wants.
Yeah.
Like for me, the condition is who runs in front of me if I want to pick sniper. So like I personally would not pick sniper in this game.
Yep.
But whenever you draft the hero, you know, sometimes your teammates pick bad heroes with it. There's plenty of games where I've regretted my pick, you know,
Yeah.
in the past. And so if you want something as a hero and that just doesn't exist in the game, then learning to like play according to the fact that it doesn't exist is like really important part of Dota. So like in Sniper's case, like you would have to play like really scared this game. You know, you'd have to have like a Shadow Blade, and you'd have to wait for Ursa and Doom to show themselves, make sure they never see you until they blink in, and then you hit them. And that would be like the only way that a hero like Sniper would be able to overcome the issues that you were facing in this game, for
Yep.
instance.
Yeah, that was a mini question I had. Should I have built Shadowblade this game?
Yeah, and Shadowblade, a lot of casual Dota viewers view Shadowblade as like an escape item. It's more of a prevent them from initiating on me in the first place item. That's what the item really does. So usually these drows and snipers, they like to have Shadowblade because if the opponent like smokes and places a ward, or like they even just, you know, they're scouting looking for people, they're
can
not gonna
pick
like
you.
find you.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
They could see your whole team, but they don't know where you are.
Exactly. So they're going to likely get baited or be impatient and go on somebody else rather than you,
And
which
you-
is exactly what you're looking for.
And you'll get experience over time if you use it more, knowing when you should have had it on.
Exactly. Yeah. There's moments where you'll use it for something and then you won't have it at the time you need it, and then you'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have used it
Yep.
there. Yeah. That's the kind of thing you just kind of learn over time for sure.
Okay. So 2 questions. Let's. One is how should I play sniper this game, and the second one is what should I have picked instead. Let's start with the second. If everything else was the same, which position 1 hero would you have liked here?
Okay. Yeah. So there's 2 things that I consider when I'm picking my role. I think the first thing that I do to eliminate it down, you know, bring it to like maybe 4 or 5 heroes, is I first consider drafting for the lane. So when it comes to laning, you'll learn very quickly over time, like watching pro matches or just experiencing your own games, where there's like certain heroes that synergize way better in lanes. So it's usually very important to not pick heroes that have similar strengths and weaknesses in the lane, because it's usually exploitable if both heroes are countered by the same type of thing. So like AA is a backline support. So you'd usually want a frontline and carry in the lane, because you want one guy tanking the damage and the other guy dishing it out. So AA specifically, since he has cold feet, it's an unreliable stun that the opponent can just walk out of. His like standard combos at like the highest bracket are any carry with a stun. So it'd be CK, Wraith King, Sven. You know, later in the game combo would be like Faceless Void. That's an example.
Slark?
So those Slark's okay. Yes, it's not the best laning combo because Slark usually wants. How do I word it? Slark usually wants supports that rely on killing. So like Lich, Grimstroke, CM. AA is more of a passive support. Like he's like harassing them casually, and so like yeah. I mean, there's so much to talk about in Dota when it comes to drafting, but usually you mentioned how you have these different type of supports, the ones that feed you tangos and pull and all that kind of stuff, and then you have like the kill hungry supports. There are actually like those you're talking about the players there, but there's actually like each support hero itself plays that way differently. You know,
Yeah.
AA generally likes to play for pulls, play outside of the lane, all that kind of stuff. So I would usually pick a hero that stuns that kind of prefers farming over killing. Like that's what I would prefer. So
Yeah.
like that's why Slark is not perfect. It's better than Sniper because it's like a frontliner in the lane, but it doesn't fit the pull AA play away from you the whole lane thing. Because if you notice in this game, the AA actually does that. You know, he predominantly leaves you solo XP. He's playing outside the lane. He feeds you tangos, and you'll kind of notice that unless your supports are just like absolutely clueless, that most AAs will play that way.
Yeah,
you know,
I play that way with AA too.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll start to notice trends where like this support hero will generally play like this, and then you'll be like, well, now that I'm going to be farming underneath my tower a lot, and I also am not really looking for kills. You know, what heroes work with that, and then later on in the game, the stun to set up his ultimate is really nice, right? So, also since you have a mag, you're getting Empower, which is like a free battle fury, if you're a melee hero, but not if you're ranged. So that like kind of doubles down on it. So, you're looking at a ton of initiation. Your idea can either be to initiate onto them or to make it hard to initiate onto you. So Wraith King would be an example of not the easiest to initiate onto you because you have 2 lives, while a hero like Void might be the initiator himself. So those would be the heroes I would pick. But I guess what I was saying when you asked what hero I'd pick is I first talk about the lane. This is how AA likes to play. These are the heroes that go well with AA, so I eliminated it to like 5 or 6.
Yep.
And I would say, generally speaking, if you're picking one of those 5 or 6, you're already like really good at drafting.
Yeah.
Like that's like a oh, Alexa, stop.
And what would be the second concern? How enemy gonna
second-
kill you?
Yeah, the second concern is like mid to late game team fights. Like when I said like, do you think your team needs an initiator or do you think they need a tank?
Okay.
What do you think your team would benefit more from? So it's like if you have Zeus and then you have like the Dawnbreaker counter initiation, and you said Mag generally wants people to go on a teammate and then he RPs them. I would say in this game, Wraith King's probably looking the best, because your teammates really like a hero that just soaks all the damage.
And he survives
So-
one doom.
Exactly. So that's like if you pick one of those 5 or 6 heroes, your first 20, 25 minutes is probably going to go pretty smooth. If you pick like the perfect hero, then it will not only have a good start, but it'll like transition also into the later game. And I usually concern myself with the early game first, naturally, because that is
It comes
the
first.
part of the game that it comes first.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how I've started to, or that's how I conceptualize drafting for carry. If you can like learn lane duos, and based on what I'm watching in your lane, like the way you play the lane, I think your mechanics and like understanding of the macro part of the lane is quite good. So I think you'll learn this quite fast. With that in mind, it is a very important part of drafting carry. When you're picking your heroes.
I barely draft so far for post 1. Generally, I have a hero that I'm playing nicely with because I have a feeling for it or I feel like playing it, and then I just pick it over and over and over. So
yeah, no, and that's honestly a fine way to learn too. It's like if you're gonna play Sniper 25 games in a row, all that means is you learn what you want. You want a frontliner, you don't have it. That means you have to play differently. Like that's totally fine if you want to do that. Learning to adjust is perfectly fine early on as well.
So I still wanted to do chip damage here. I wanted to farm till I got some cool items, and then I thought we should go keep hitting towers, and that means showing myself. And I ran into problems with that, as you probably saw. So that was a lot of not too much info for me. Maybe for chat, it was a lot of theory craft. Let's go to the next point. Your first timestamp.
Yeah, so I have a few timestamps. I had like 2 or 3 from lane, and then a few decisions around the map that I think will help you like understand your role in the game as a carry. So the first one was 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
So I I try to tell the most important thing for carry players when it comes to deciding whether or not you use spells, whether or not you trade. What you do with your hero is the lane equilibrium. So just how many creeps the opponent has and how many you have. So if the opponent has way more creeps than you, then it's really important that whatever you do attempts to address that. So whether that the two options are to attack or cast spells on the opponent creeps, or to aggro the creeps into your tower, both of which will like help kill off the enemy creeps.
Okay.
If you try to like trade or deny or do anything that's not that, it'll generally lead to you being underneath your tower, taking like a lot of damage and missing a lot of CS, as you'll see like afterwards when you follow it up.
Okay.
Like
if
what's
I
happening
try,
underneath the tower.
If I try to
Go ahead.
trade into Doom and he's got too many creeps, I'm going to be under my tower because I have to run from the zombies.
Yeah, because of all the creeps that are up in your face right now, if you try to trade with him when he has more creeps than you, then he'll be stronger because in the super early game, the creeps are like really powerful in comparison to heroes.
Yep.
Is what
So would it be okay to shrapnel now and then just hit enemy creeps, or shrapnel and hit him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the point that I was saying about like your options are to either use spells or pull creeps in the tower is because a lot of carries cannot do anything to kill the creeps. But in Sniper's case, it's exactly what you said. It's like a good read that you would want to just shrapnel on top of the wave, hit the Doom, hit the enemy creeps, but you elected to go for denies. And so I'm trying. What I'm emphasizing is that if the amount of creeps will dictate the action you'll want to take, whether that's defensive or offensive, if
So
that makes sense.
Denying is okay if it doesn't interfere with other plan, maybe just because I deny XP, but it should not be the main priority because I will have a creeps on my neck problem if I focus solely on that.
Exactly. So that's funny that you said your main priority because my exact note was it looks like you prioritize last hits and denies. I want you to put that second to having the lane equilibrium be even.
Okay.
So like if it's 4 creeps against 4 creeps or like kind of something similar to that, like really close, like as long as it's not like 6 against 3 like we see here, then last hits and denies are the most important thing to focus on. That is like really important. Go for the denies, go for the last hits, etc. But if it's pushing really hard into the opponent, like you have a lot more creeps than they do, you can either look to be very aggressive or look to deny your own creeps, vigorously, like every time they hit less than half. So you're trying to fix the lane a bit.
Yeah.
And then when it's pushing into you like this, do something to kill the enemy creeps. And that matters more than denies in that exact moment.
Okay, I understand. And that also directly addresses some of my most epic fails. Like, before I knew that it becomes dangerous when the enemy wave is mounting up and yours is about to dissipate, that's when people are looking to use their stuns on you.
You learned that very quickly.
Well, not quickly enough, because I learned that early on in the first 100, 200, 300 games, but in the next couple of 100 games, sometimes I was still like, I want to go in and take their ranged creep down, or I want to deny my ranged creep. And that would be the final creep there is left from my color. Right?
Oh, yes.
My final creep. I want to deny that one. And they're like, nope. We don't care if you do deny it. We don't care if you don't deny it. But we do see that you want to do that. And now we're going to go on you. And that creep doesn't matter. So, yeah, it's because you're right, actually. I made that number one priority, deny and last hit. Because that was my simple understanding of CS.
Yeah, you drew a very quick parallel there, like to immediate occurrences that you remembered. That's like really good. Yeah, that's exactly why I'm telling you, is because the equilibrium will generally tell you if good or bad things are about to happen, not currently happening, but like about to happen. So that's why it's first priority.
Yeah,
so.
I just shrapnelled a single ranged creep after finding out. I F around and find out. And then I'm like, oh, they're all on me. I'm taking a lot of damage. Let's shrapnel. Then they still ran on me because there's nothing else left. And then the shrapnel missed. And then both AA and I dropped to less than half-life because of that.
Yeah, and that was exactly why I pointed this one out, because I thought the lane was going really well for you up until that moment. Like, I was like, that's like a really rough trade that will hurt him, if he does that a couple times in lane. That usually if you do that type of thing like 2 or 3 times is when you die. Like the second or third time is the death. Is generally what happens. But yeah, no.
Okay,
that's
perfect,
exactly
great. A very useful point.
and then the next point was at 7 minutes.
Power them easy.
Ooh, I'm just
Okay.
trying to get to the right moment.
7 exact.
It was 6:57-ish minutes because the other things that I'm talking about, that was like a very obviously specific like change priority thing, but a lot of these are vision of the game sort of things. So what you'll learn when you're playing carry is that obviously there's a lot that happens between 0 and 7 minutes. And so it tends to be like a lot of wear and tear. Like, are you getting harassed out of lane? Are you getting like zoned out of lane? Are you getting killed? Like, are they attempting to like all in you full to 0? Like, what are they trying to do? And a lot of times, if you feel like you're newer to a hero, you can take a snapshot of what happened at 7, 8 minutes, like what your hero looks like. And you'll learn what you should itemize in future games. So what I really liked when I watched this game is like I look at 650 and I see that you're struggling for health and mana. And so especially important on a hero like Sniper because mana is used for farming. His shrapnel being his main source of farming until he gets his Maelstrom.
Yeah.
So to not have enough mana, not only are you like weaker in lane, but you're also farming slower. So the reason I like this is I continue fast forwarding through the replay, and you purchased a wand at 8 minutes, and so our goal from that point is that reactionary purchases are like the first step to getting better. Like that's absolutely necessary. So the fact that you're doing it, you're like clearly aware of the issues you're having, but to know that these issues will generally be very consistent across heroes. Like when you're playing Sniper, you'll have similar issues at 7 minutes every single game. So what that means is next time around, you'll buy a wand at like 2 or 3 minutes into the game. And then those like 15 or 20 stick charges that you got over 4 minutes, you know, we take a snapshot of your health and mana at 7 minutes, and suddenly it looks really good.
Why did you find 7 minutes to be indicative of finding out the trend of your early game?
So the thing about the 7 minute mark, it's somewhere around 6 to 8. It's not like a perfect window. It's the part of the lane where you get to decide whether or not you're jungling anymore. And both heroes have kind of played out multiple power spikes, I guess. Like usually heroes will have some power spikes at like level, like some heroes are really strong level 1. Some heroes are like really strong when they hit like level 3 or 4. So like usually
Bottom tower.
like your hero has experienced all of their weaknesses and strength points in the laning phase by that point.
And it's based on your experience as well. Just check
Exactly.
a lot of games and then a lot of comparisons. So with one look at the 7 minute mark, you're saying, I'll know what I need next time.
Yes, that was the point I wanted to make, is that like it looks like you're fully aware of what's currently happening, but if you can turn that into like
Radiant's middle
like
tower
preemptive purchases in the future, it's like the bread and butter, you know, that's like perfect.
Yeah, I see my resources suck right now, my health and mana, but none of my items are fixing that. My current, my new ones. What am I actually making? I guess I'm making. Oh yeah, I'm finishing my treads, magic wand, and so I could have been fed more resources by my support. But that's
Absolutely.
not consistent.
Yeah, that's not reliable. So like if I'm thinking like maybe you're deciding whether or not you're going to purchase the second Wraith Band, you can like look at your AA's inventory or like ask him for 2 mangoes or something. And if they give it to you, then you're like, oh, I go Wraith Band. You know, I want to go Wraith Band, but if he's not going to give it to me, then I know I'll have to buy it myself, sort of thing. So that's the kind of thing where it's, if your support is like a god, you know, and doing all the right things, it'll help you a lot, but you don't want to assume it's going to happen, kind of like you said. So.
Yeah, maybe I've had good carry games where they were, and then bad games where they weren't, and then I blame the support.
Dyer's
But not
You
each one.
adjusting is like the only thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
So it's we're not trying to like I personally try to avoid just assigning blame in general, just because I don't want to like make myself feel bad.
Yeah,
or
you're gonna
like,
get real salty. You're gonna play worse, and so
yeah,
on. And
exactly.
it's not always easy, but and I also don't want to
It's
do
not
it.
easy at all.
But sometimes I shrug and I think, what else can I say? When I play support, I always heal my +1. I make sure they have a great game, and when other people do, it happens less than half the time or something, or half the time, or. And then I just have a
You're absolutely right.
I just have a terrible game. I was watching your legitimate smurfing video where you got some viewers to play and everyone consented to being smurfed upon. And
Yes.
you got an early healing solve as, I think it was Ursa? No, Necrophos.
It was Necrophos versus the Wraith King lane. Yeah.
You ended up not needing it because they weren't as strong at being able to pressure you, but you might have needed it in order to continue the lane. I never buy healing solve as one. I'm like, that's my support's job.
Yeah. So the reason why I bought salve there, so salves used to be better for supports to buy because they could share you the salve and give you the full benefit of the salve.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's generally not reliable or like efficient for the support to salve you.
Like, at all?
There's a lot of what's up?
At all? You think only do tango?
If they have a salve and it makes sense to use it on you there, sure. Like it's fine to use it. But I would say like myself, even in like the immortal bracket, I'll get salved like 1 out of 10 games. You know, like it's
1 out
not
of
very
10, huh?
common.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not very common. So I don't even ask for it unless I'm desperate. Like unless I like see that they have a salve and I know it'll like really help me.
Okay.
I'll never like ask them preemptively to buy me a salve or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
specifically
remember,
in that,
I don't
go
remember
ahead.
doing that either. It's just you can get resource deprived in one game and not another, and misattribute that it's your own responsibility. After all, you're the only constant in your games, so maybe you just start getting that magic wand earlier. Like you said, if you look at a couple of your own sniper games, you always have a mana health issue. You just get the earlier magic wand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll definitely see common trends. The salve is like a lot of times just a contingency. So like as Necro, for instance, I think if I'm like trading right clicks, I'm always winning. Like because Wraith King is melee and I'm ranged, so I'll just keep hitting him. So as long as I'm allowed to hit him, I'll win the lane. So it's that way on a lot of ranged heroes. So if I think that their way to prevent me from hitting them is to like use the volley of spells to bring me down to like half HP. So in that lane, it was Wraith King stun and CM nuke
Yeah.
kind of things. That's the only way they can win the lane, by making it so that I'm such low HP that I can't feel comfortable hitting them without dying. So I'll buy salves in those type of lanes where I think that that's like
Understood.
their win condition. Yeah.
So there, you must have more timestamps, but I don't know if you have my screen on.
I wasn't pulling on Discord. No. I thought you were looking at the replay. I can share you my screen on Discord as well, so you see exactly what I'm seeing. I'm fine with either option, or I can watch your screen.
Yeah, let's go back and forth. I'll open my Discord for you now. There's this moment here actually where
Let me show it to my stream so they see it. Give me a sec.
chat is saying heal solve is half effectiveness from support on carry. I know. I've always known that. The reason is that I figured it is still worth it for the support to spend.
You can hear the call.
Oh, hold on.
Jokes aside,
It's still worth it for the support to spend double on heal solve for the half effectiveness. Either you spend double or half effectiveness. That's still more worth it because supports are lower than the scum of the earth, and carries are God's gift to mankind. So supports,
My man.
there we go. Support should grovel for the approval of the course and still heal solve them. That's how I figured it.
Of course.
But yeah, it is less effective. It is less cost efficient. Anyway, that's how I was seeing it. But have you caught up with the screen?
Yeah. Sorry, I have your screen on.
So this was my dream, right? I hit tower. Team joins me. The game thinks we have an 86% win probability. I don't know what the game thinks we are going to be doing. We've got some wards around here. We've got some wards in our own jungle. They have wards here. And no doubt, I don't know what my call was. Maybe I called to go and hit this tower. How would you see victory from this point onwards at this time? Net worth-wise, I'm over Doom, which is amazing, considering his net worth inflation. Then the next two are also us. We have 2 more towers. Do we need to force the issue now? Do we need to hit this tower? Or do I just keep farming jungle over and over? Note there's no jungle around me anymore. There's no lane. So should I just TP top now instead? And just be like, yeah, my team doesn't seem to want to push because we're defending a wave mid. They are not in position. And then just TP top?
So my answer. First off, I want to point out that I actually have this on my timestamps, this exact moment in the game.
Oh,
so
great.
like we're on the same page about a moment in the game that's like a crucial decision.
Yeah.
There's a concept that I have a couple timestamps on that I'll introduce here. That is a lot about playing carry is like it's a lot about like flow of the map where your hero is. So like the first 25 minutes of the game, give or take, that's not like exact. All these things are kind of like rough windows. There's just too much variance. Everything you do is like oriented around farming. Like you're still getting items. You're still building up your strength. So like what led you to hitting this tower, if you watch it back, was farming a bunch of camps. Like you farmed a bunch of camps and then ended up at this tower.
Yeah.
And that's like what's going to happen in every Dota game. You know, you're going to kill these camps. And you're like, oh, I'm done with these camps now. I'm going to go walk towards that camp. Now I'm going to go walk towards this creep wave. And now I'm on a tower.
Yep.
Like that's like how carry players are contributing to the game. You know, they're hitting creeps. And along the way, there's going to be random heroes, towers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what I want to point out is that when you do things, I want you to think that you're the guy with the target on its back. Like everything you do in the game is relevant to the opponent. Like they don't want you hitting their towers. They don't want you killing them. They don't want you farming. So like if they see you, if they know you're somewhere, if you do something that represents strength, which is like hitting a tower, killing a hero, anything like that, running at somebody, the opponent's always going to react. Like pretty much always. You can assume that if you do something like this, there's going to be 3 or 4 heroes in your face, like after you've shown.
Yeah.
So if you rewind, so first and foremost, you shouldn't feel rushed at all. Like you were #1 net worth, you guys were winning by 4K, and even if their late game's pretty good, you know, you were farming a lot and everything was fine. So what I want to point out to you, if we rewind to the moment that we started this clip, which was 22:30, is the way that you can envision this exact scenario is if you pause right here, that you just killed all the creeps. So like what I really liked about watching your gameplay was your natural, like I kill creeps and I farm creeps and then I contribute to things. Like you were hitting mid tower, you were participating in ganks, and that's like a really important part of carry that a lot of people don't do. And so I want you to assume that when you hit a tower like this, or you killed Ursa bottom and stuff like that earlier, that the opponent sees this and you have initiated their response. Like you have initiated them doing something because they're like, oh, there's a sniper bottom. So the forms of this thing that they could be doing is smoking. They could be TPing. They could be running at you, not smoked. There's like, you know, whatever it is, they're going to do something in response. So what you'll learn is if you don't have the information, because if you go to your perspective, like if you go to player perspective from yourself, you don't actually see anyone on the map right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I was thinking. Like when I do
yeah.
this, I'm thinking like they could respond, they may not. I don't know.
I'm telling you, as a carry player, I understand that thought entirely. As a carry player, the only way to like reliably make the good call is to assume, unless proven otherwise, that they are reacting.
You see me shrapneling above it and
I
below
see it. I see you're like kind of ready for it. Like I know I'm not like introducing like some crazy foreign concept here. You're like thinking they might react, but you have to assume that they are.
Yeah.
That's like I think the big frame of reference. Frame of
but
mind
Magnus didn't stop his blink. Look at this. Look. Like they get to just walk up. There's Doom, and then he blinks away and he lets him blink on me. It's not my fault. It was great if But no, not really, because we still have 2 mid. Okay, so 99% sure they're gonna react to me, because
Yes.
if they're not, there must be some really serious dysfunctionality in their tomb where they're arguing.
Exactly.
And they're like, well, I'm not gonna respond to this sniper because you do it or whatever. Like, it's weird if they don't.
Exactly. It's honestly just bad if they don't, right? Like
Yeah.
they're giving up free damage on a tower. They're like not farming the creeps underneath tower. Like, yeah, it's simply correct for them to do something in response.
Yeah.
So what that means is ignoring all the heroes on your team, like anything your allies are doing. I would just ask you, if you assumed 4 people were running at you while you were hitting that tower, what would you do? What would be your response?
So
for me personally,
I could
I
hit
would
it a
retreat.
bit, and then I could go out of vision and TP, and maybe they're still coming. So now I've created a useless response.
Exactly. So you can walk out of vision and instantly TP if you're really sure they're coming, or if you think you're really strong, you can walk out of vision, wait to see if they're coming. If they are coming, let them go on a teammate and then kill them. So you have options. But the
Yeah.
idea to walk out of vision and hide while they're missing is absolutely correct. That is the best instinct. Yeah, that's really good instinct there.
That's a must.
Yeah, and if you don't do that, exactly what happened there is you're gonna kind of rely on your team to protect you, and we already talked about that.
It's unreliable. It may happen,
Unreliable.
it may not. Plus, you don't want to be the martyr.
Exactly. Supports, they're willing to die for information, but cores, we generally want to avoid information deaths.
Yeah.
Those are really important to avoid.
I think I use my Tide Hunter position 3 and my Clockwork position 4 mindset, where I do things in the enemy vision to troll them, to kind of say, do you want to waste time on going on me? But I still apply that.
You got to be really careful. That's probably the hardest part I've noticed if I'm ever coaching somebody that's transitioning from support to carry, is learning that their life is valued in every decision you make. So it's if as a carry, if there's a 10% chance you die doing something, you just can't do it, because you do that 10 times in the game and you're dead, and that can lose you the game as carry sometimes.
So our first lesson so far is in draft, it can be nice to have a melee plus ranged, but also consider what my 5 is wanting to do generally as a hero, what they're trying to achieve, their hero usually, and I know a little bit more about that because I've been playing more support.
Yeah, that'll help you a lot. You've been playing support.
So draft my 1 accordingly.
Happy to be on this journey.
2 is gonna be
Grubby.
2 was priority list for early laning is first. First is gonna be lane equilibrium near my tower, as it predicts what's about to go down, and the second one is gonna be CS.
Yes, perfect. That's first 8 minutes is already the rest of what you're doing is really good. And I'm not just saying that to
Yeah.
I saw you defensively aggroing to your range to fix equilibrium and stuff. I was like, damn, I was seeing some good stuff. So if we just, I think if that's tweaked, your laning stage will feel very smooth.
Okay. And then
From everything I saw.
7 minutes can be a nice benchmark for evaluating my resource state of the game, for itemizing or playing differently in the future.
Yes, exactly.
And then 4 is as a 1, all eyes on you. So whatever you're doing, farming jungle, lane, attacking, killing heroes, hitting objective like rush or towers, it should 100% produce an enemy response that I must be ready for. And I shouldn't be assuming that they're not going to come, because that would just be wrong. And it's easy to beat people that are wrong all the time, but it's more important to focus your play based on people that do the right thing, which would be to chase the one.
Yes, I can tell you that you don't lose games because you assumed the opponent was doing the right thing and they were doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
You don't lose games because of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, That's what I always try to coach people in Warcraft 3 as well, where it's like, yeah, well, what would a correct player be doing? That's the one you need to be afraid of. The incorrect player, yeah, maybe you do some useless moves, but they're going to be incorrect in so many things that you'll still beat them.
Exactly.
Okay, next timestamp.
Yeah. So, I most of my timestamps were from early in the game, so
Okay.
I apologize if that's
That's more than enough. I know you
Okay,
spent a lot
so-
of time going over that already. Then I have a question, because we're like doing good in the win rate until we got wiped at the bottom, and then
Yeah.
it gets harder and harder, and that's tough. But let's talk about items. What items could save me in a game like this? Is this a game where I buy BKB? I felt maybe I should, despite Doom going through it, because they still have lots of magic. Chat was telling me maybe I shouldn't. What should I be doing?
Okay, so my mindset in this game is that you have a lot of heroes that cause issues for you. So you have the Doom Ursa, both of which who are jumping you, and chat's probably telling you BKB doesn't do anything to Doom or Ursa. Ursa just buys Basher and he's all right clicks.
Yeah.
But then you also have to consider that there's a Lich, there's a CM, and there's a Void Spirit, all of which, if you don't have BKB, honestly, CM could even like solo kill you, theoretically, if she were to like get on top of you, frostbite you, and ult you with a BKB of her own, for instance. So
BKB
these
is
other
okay.
three heroes on the enemy team are like a huge threat, right? So what that means is you have to pick and choose. So would you rather be hitting the Doom and Ursa in BKB, where they haven't jumped you, they jumped somewhere else, and then the other three heroes can't do anything about it? Or would you rather be trying to kill the two supports and not get jumped by Ursa and Doom?
I feel
and
like the
so
second
BKB,
one might be better. BKB is a man-up item. I will also need Satanic. I may still not survive Doom and Ursa. If I show up and then I get got on and I man up, I'm safe from the three less dangerous heroes, maybe. But manning up may not work very well here anyway.
Yeah, so the manning up, I want to be careful when I say man up, because it's definitely I definitely used it incorrectly there. So like the way I look at it is, if you don't have BKB, then okay, how do I explain this? So Ursa and Doom, if they jump you, you're gonna die pretty much no matter what. Like there really is no item in the game that I think you can buy to survive that. They just have too much threat against you. So that means that I've like ruled out in my head that I can't survive that. So that means I have to let Doom and Ursa go into the fight.
Yeah.
So like my plan for the fight would be Ursa and Doom go in, and I spend the fight hitting them. I'm not like manning up against them, because I'm staying like 1200 range away, but I am going to stand my ground hitting them from 1200 range away.
So you want Silver Edge to be second into the fight, not first.
Yes, exactly. So I would probably go Silver Edge first to make sure that I don't get jumped. And then once I've made sure that I don't get jumped, I'm now considering I'm going to let Ursa and Doom jump in, but then I'm scared of the Void Spirit going on me as well. So I would either buy like a BKB or like a Satanic to sustain through his damage, right? I would be thinking of some item that helps me deal with the Void Spirit.
You're assuming we already have Hurricane Pike, right?
Yeah. The Hurricane Pike, I was going off of the items like you already had. Yeah, the Hurricane Pike on Sniper is like, it's like almost always bought. It's like 90% of games I buy a Hurricane Pike. So yeah, it's just an item that makes it so much easier to play Sniper, because the first guy that goes on you, you just Hurricane Pike him and you're fine.
How often do you pike an enemy? How often do you pike yourself away when it looks like you're about to get got?
If the opponent does not have a BKB, I will pike them.
Yeah.
If they have a BKB, I will usually not even attempt to pike them. Because I can't tell you how many times I've died trying to pike a guy, he pops BKB, and then I just don't use it and die.
Yep, that's
actually my decider.
Okay. So one or two Wraith Band, and then Dragon Lance and a Maelstrom. I mean, one Wraith Band, maybe a Boots, maybe Maelstrom. The order depends on the game. And then I've got a Wraith Band 1 or 2, I've got a Boots or a Treads, I've got a Maelstrom, I'm farming, Dragon Lance, the Hurricane Pike, and then that's how I went this game. How would you fit a Silver Edge in there or a Shadow Blade? Are we Silver Edging or just Shadow Blade?
You want the Silver Edge just because the enemy carry is Ursa, so him not having Fury swipes is like like a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So I would finish the Silver Edge.
And is that before Pike?
No, I would usually go the Pike first. So the thing about Silver Edge as an item, or like Shadow Blade in general, is if one guy were to jump you and like dust you, you would have to have some sort of response, as like any hero in the game, whatever hero you're playing. So your response can be an item, your response can be an ability. So like, a hero like, Slark going or Shadow Blade, if the opponent sees him, he can like Dark Pact and pounce away. But Sniper, he would need an item to respond. So you would want to go the Hurricane Pike first, so that if you do get caught with the Silver Edge, you'll have an answer.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dire's bottom tower
Neutral item wise, I had a choice between Aquila, Grove Bow, and Vambrace. I chose the Grove Bow.
Radiant's top tower is under
I thought all three are quite nice. Oh, and Brigand Blade. Like, I think all
Yeah.
four were quite nice.
Yeah. I would say on Sniper specifically, Grove Bow's the best, Brigand's Blade is second. I would say probably Vambrace is third,
Yeah.
but usually as an agility hero, if there's like an Aquila and a Vambrace, I'll take the Aquila because nobody else wants that.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
usually how I'll view it. And then, yeah, I think Grove Bow is by far the best second tier 2 neutral for Sniper, and
tower.
Brigand's Blade is a close, or is a distant second, but it's also way better than everything else.
Okay.
Like Brigand's Blade is also very good.
Yes.
Is under attack.
And for tier 3, would you have a Mindbreaker here or a Titan Sliver?
I would definitely go Titan Sliver,
Top tower.
because
I wanted less Doom.
you were more scared of dying than you were worried about killing them. So I would make sure I don't die with my neutral item.
Okay.
So like you go for what looks like a Daedalus,
Radiant's
and so a very common decision you'll make as a carry is Daedalus as well as Silver Edge, because they're both crit items, they're both damage items. So Daedalus is like obviously the all-in damage item, while Silver Edge is like a little bit of attack speed, a little bit less damage, but it's the positioning factor.
Okay.
So if you think positioning is a concern for you on whatever hero you're playing, then you'll want to go Silver Edge instead of Daedalus.
Yeah. Makes sense. In this moment, at this time, like, this is okay. Ursa is still dead. We're pushing up. But then I still get doomed.
Yeah, I see this.
I would think that it would be okay for us to push. This is like a moment where I'm like, let's go, guys, let's go. It's 5v4. Ursa's dead. I have a double damage. I get doomed. I don't remember if I survived actually. No, I did not survive. Like, this sucks. So okay, what did I do wrong here?
I think it all ties back to what we talked about at the start of the game, where what Sniper needs to like be a strong hero in the late game is people in front of him, and you don't have that this game. So Doom, all of your teammates are right next to you because none of them want to be in front. So even if you're winning, even if they're missing a hero, even if you feel strong, this is an example of like when we talked about the drafting, where you pick for the lane and then you pick for the game. Like this portion of the game wasn't covered in your draft, where you don't have a frontliner, they can just jump you kind of whenever they want to. So like these are the type of games where whenever you have like a weird draft or something's missing in the draft, it's if you miss it, this is what happens. It happens all the time. Dota, there's so many ways to mess it up. But yeah, like just to be honest, there's really no way for your team to stop that guy from BKB and dooming you. Like, yeah, Mag might be able to RP him, but it's like it has a cast animation. It's like it's kind of hard, to be honest. He would have to be like preemptively ready for it, kind of thing, and that's just a lot to ask of your teammates.
So this
Unreliable
is just,
as well.
Yeah, this is just where you buckle down for the 1 hour game. You just keep playing.
Exactly.
You keep playing Dota. You keep playing the lanes, and you only take opportunities. That's it.
Yep. The thing is, all the fights that you didn't get initiated onto, you guys just wiped them. Like that's
True.
like I've seen like you fast forward through like 2 or 3 fights, and because the draft's missing a little bit of cohesion, the game might go a little bit longer than anticipated. But it's really important to note that like if we really consider these win conditions for the fights. Like every fight that's gone one way, you've won. Every fight that they've initiated on you at the start, you know they've won. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what we want to be careful about, kind of thing. I mean, it ends up going like decently
Yeah,
at the end
it's
of the
like
day.
4
It's
for
not like
5.
a disaster.
4 for 5, but I'm dead. But still, you know, it's 4 for 5. Still, we're still 90% win rate, but it could go worse as well. And
The issue with carry though is if you're the one that dies, usually no objectives are taken. You know, no towers are dying, no Roche. Like
true.
you're usually the guy that's supposed to do that, and that's even more so why it's important that you live, not just because we're the most important guy ever. You know, as like the best players on the team, carry players here, but no, it's just like nothing happens at this stage in the game. It's like if you're the one guy alive instead of Zeus, you might get a lane of Rax. You know,
Yeah.
but it's just a Zeus now, so he's gonna bolt some creeps basically.
So I'd be coping here. I'd be thinking 4 for 5, and their Ursa bought back.
Yeah, that's not even coping. I think that's just like, okay, that's not too bad. Like, that's fine.
But maybe the premise was.
Please give BSJ my
Okay,
regards
let
right
me ask you
now
another
for doing
question.
his work for the
How
community.
often do you say in a game
holidays,
5v4?
How often do I say like
how
that's the
often
case?
do you enunciate that something needs to happen because you're 5v4? I'm trying to make a comparison between Dota and HOTS here. In HOTS,
Yeah, okay.
5v4 is so common because 4 can't do shit against 5 usually because the relative power level between heroes is similar. And unless you've got
interesting.
like a 4-level lead over the opponent, every hero is so equal. The power spikes aren't as big because there's no items and no gold. And so if you're 5v4, you are going to get objectives, period. Like you are going to own the map. And if you go
see.
together, there's nothing that could go wrong because ratting usually isn't that good. So 5v4, you're going to get a set of racks. That's why I got a double damage and a 5v4. The way I see it, we're going to wipe this racks. We're going to wipe the floor with them. They can't do anything but watch. But I find time and time again, and it's kind of this difficulty to accept. It's not necessarily like that in Dota.
Yeah, it's I will say the exact term of like it's 5v4 is never really used at high levels for communication in Dota. Like I'm glad you gave me the context because I wasn't exactly sure what you meant. So it's like in the highest level of Dota, people will communicate based on specific things that are missing. So like say I'm sniper and I'm against a hero like Faceless Void. And the only way I think I die that game is Chrono. You know, like that's the only way I think I die. And it's like, if you communicate like Void has no Chrono or Void's dead, they can't kill me. That's generally the way that Dota's thought about rather than a specific like number of heroes being alive.
Yeah.
Because if Ursa's dead, but they still have another hero that can kill you, honestly, 5v4 doesn't mean much in Dota. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's like some games, every single hero on the enemy team can threaten you at 40 minutes into the game. Some games, only one of them can. So the value of an individual hero being dead can have like very high variance in Dota.
That makes sense.
Basically.
Now, we've almost finished the replay. Maybe I would actually kind of like to finish it.
Yeah, sure.
Dota Plus says we have 96% chance to win.
Yeah, I mean, looking pretty good right now.
But
I
we
mean,
do not-
spoiler, you lose, but
We do not win this. Alright? I want to push the middle lane. I mean, I'm mid. We could be mid. We could be bot. I want to push mid. The tower is lower. Void Spirit is currently dead. I don't know why. This is where I'll be like, come on, guys, like let's go push the racks. And then 3 guys decide to lane together, and 1 guy decides to jungle, and I'm hitting the tower, and I'm thinking, like, okay, sure, this is me 5v4 again, but it also makes sense. It's 6v4. I think we can get this tower. That's my opinion. It is 6v4 because of Aegis. Maybe not quite the same as 6v4, but 5v4. And then, like, I feel like they should be with me, but is that like an egotistical mindset? Also, we got 80 seconds, Void Spirit dead. That means we could go now, or we could go in 20 or 30 or 40. And Magnus has no RP, I suppose.
yeah, so you're like, spoiler alert, you're like absolutely correct that they should be with you. But I think probably the number one lesson I've learned is that you have to not think of it as should, but what is currently happening. So
It's so
like the
hard.
fact is your teammates are going to make all types of mistakes. They're not going to play around your hero properly. They're not going to like hit their timings. They're going to go randomly jungle sometimes. And if you think that you need teammates to do something in the game, like hitting a tower or taking Roche or taking a fight, and they're just simply not there, then you just can't do it. There's really that's like all I can really teach in this regard. Like you are correct that like what would happen here is if you were on some competitive team and you guys were talking about this for future games, you'd be like, yeah, guys, like we have this power spike, play with me. We don't need to farm it all. But like these players are going to do what they're going to do. And then if you were to try to tell them to do this with you, the next game it would just be 4 new players that will probably do it again.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
that's why it's like you're absolutely right. But my only advice other than like
No shoulds.
you're right is like you just can't hit it because they're not here.
Yeah. So
I would always be this game. I would always be focused on seeing Ursa before he sees me. Like I would want to see Ursa somewhere on the map, like hitting a creep or showing himself underneath their tower or something like that before I actually hit the towers. That's what I would be doing.
Okay, so I could be like shuffle footing together with my 3 guys.
You could like shrapnel mid wave, like you like clear the mid wave like you did, and then
Leave.
join them right now. Yeah, that's what I would do.
So now I don't know how voice chat went. Someone in the chat is like, communicate with them. Well, I don't know. It's a replay. The voice chat isn't captured, right? Maybe I did. Maybe 15 seconds ago I called, let's go mid tower, and nobody came. So then you have to drop the idea, and maybe I go bot, but it's too risky to walk like this, I think. So I have to go bot via the high ground.
Exactly. I agree with that. Yep, that's exactly what I would do.
And then let's say if Zeus theoretically went to our own ancients or whatever, right? And I end up leaving, let's say I go out of vision, I TP to outpost, I just start doing random jungle creeps. It would like break my mind if someone was like, why are you top? Because I went top because they're not with me and I do not see Ursa, so I cannot hit towers. And I want to hit towers, but let's say they didn't come for 30 seconds and then I just leave, or 10 seconds. I just leave, I go do something because Carrie always wants to be busy farming. So leaving here would be like quite mentally tough for me, but I just need to do it.
I don't actually think you should leave. What I've heard when you were talking about the bottom tower, and now you're talking about in this example that I think is the same mindset you're having, is that if your teammates are not helping you do what you think you should do, that your best option is to leave. And I think the best option is to stay where you are, but be very cautious about what you're doing. So like in the bottom push at like 23 minutes, you could just like retreat into the trees, hide, wait for information, wait to see what's going on, and then choose to either TP top or participate in the fight. So like here, you can connect to your team, and if your Zeus doesn't show up, then I would be waiting to see, is Ursa going to show on top creep wave, or is he hiding in his base? Like, where is this Ursa? Oh, I see Ursa hit top. Like, I'm looking at your mini map.
Yep.
Like, and this is all because I think Ursa's really scary.
Yep.
So, like, I'd be doing exactly what you're doing, where you're hitting them, and then you're like, oh, okay, like, that guy doomed, got to kite a little bit, you know.
Oh, no, I remember
Don
this.
ulti. This actually isn't that bad so far from what I'm seeing. And you might get killed by Ursa twice. I wouldn't over pursue because you don't have BKB. I'd wait for my Zeus to get closer. At the end of the day, I don't see anything too bad right now.
Well,
Just lack of item usage there. You didn't use your Hurricane. Yeah, I mean, the Zeus obviously is... I'm just looking at what you're doing. I understand your Zeus is kind of griefing.
wait.
I understand that.
He saw all this and left?
You went the Arcane rune, bro.
But we're getting got! Oh, he thought it was over. Huh? Oh, okay. I think he assumed
I've had stuff like this in my games, just so you know. It doesn't really end.
he has Boots of Travels and TP. He has Boots of Travels and TP! Okay, I think he assumed that we received the Doom, killed him, and would leave.
Yep. He's waiting for that Arun at 44 minutes. Man.
50-50.
That's a rough one.
Oh, Oh, I thought this game was my fault. It was his.
I'm just telling you that if you can ever gain that awareness to see that he's not there in the middle of the fight, it'll win you games. I'm not saying it's your fault.
No,
I'm
I
saying
mean,
that I've had plenty of games where I've like realized, wait a minute, my core is just not here. So like what I mean, if you rewind, actually, this is
Yeah.
like the one coaching thing I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So like right now is like a clear moment where they're chasing you out of base, so they're gonna chase you. Like go ahead and play it out. They're gonna chase
Yeah.
you, and so let's just wait till it happens.
So I
They're
shouldn't
gonna
have,
go on you at some point here.
BKB'd until Aegis is used, right? First of all.
That's like I actually think this BKB was fine because it allowed you to retreat and they chased into you. And so what? Pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this happens a lot in team fights. And this is the exact moment where they were chasing you, and it's now turned around, right?
Yeah.
Where the enemy's like, oh shit, maybe this wasn't the best idea. Let's run. And these are the moments where if you can take that half second to a second to like look at your map and assess, like you can click your Dawn, see if he has BKB, click your AA, see what items he has. I'm just saying these are all of this is the moment to like try to see what's going on in the game, like in the team fight, because usually in the team fight you're super distracted, right? Like
Yes.
there's a ton of stuff going on, bajillion buttons getting pressed. But if you can recognize that one moment where one team is chasing and then they're running away, immediately check for resources or like hero positioning.
Yeah.
So like I would see Zeus and like I would click Zeus and see what he's doing. Like I would spend 1 second doing that. And
Yeah.
that matters more to me than chasing the opponent in these type of circumstances. It's not necessarily that your Zeus obviously shouldn't be here or whatever, but your decision to go back and fight them is bad based on the fact that your Zeus is, jerking off waiting for a rune.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen a lot where it's not even your teammates' fault sometimes. Like, say, I've thought we can chase because my hero is still strong. Like, you were still strong. You had Aegis. You do a lot of damage, all that kind of stuff. But I'll turn around and two of my heroes have no mana, and I didn't realize it when I
yes.
tried to chase. So I'm just letting you know for future games that moment where you turn that chase around is a really important moment to try to reset for a second and think about it.
True. Yeah, and to realize, Ursa has never shown up yet. He's still a threat.
Exactly.
I could have even like stepped back, don't chase, just stand my ground for a bit, or take a few steps back, look at Zeus. 'Cause
Exactly.
It may take me
a little bit
longer
of
than
patience.
it may take me longer than a second than it might take you, and then see, and then I could call, are you coming? And if he's not, then okay, it was still good. It was still good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to teach you the best way to deal with this type of unpredictable, shenanigans that your teammates are pulling off. Because like, there's obviously no way we can like rationalize the correctness of what Zeus was doing there, right? It doesn't make any sense, And the way people mess up, like the thing about Dota, I'm sure it's similar in Warcraft 3, was like the way to play correctly is very like. A lot of people, after talking about it, can come to the same conclusion of what's correct, but the ways you can mess up, there's like infinite.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to predict whatever your teammates are going to do wrong. Are they going to randomly wait for a rune? Do they think their refresher orb is more important than your Aegis push? There's all types of things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
They thought the fight was over. They thought, whatever.
Yeah.
You just have no idea. So that moment to collect yourself and check is really important.
And in this case, I'm wrong. Of course, there were hundreds of mistakes I made over the course of a game. But what we talked about is that this is wrong to hit tower. I still have that mindset that sniper is an inexorable pusher no matter what. But this time, it's even worse because it's 5-on-5. Zeus has no ulti. We didn't cover the outpost behind us. We're not as far ahead as we used to be, though the game still thinks we're far ahead, but not necessarily because it means we're going to keep hitting tower. We could just be taking control of the map and so on and so forth. Roshan is not up yet. This time, no Aegis. And I'm showing where I am without a Shadow Blade.
Yep. That's this is just the type of situation where whatever carry you're playing, it's actually universal across every carry. If you're ever hitting a tower, assume they're going to go on you and just try to picture what the response from you and your team would be.
Yep.
It's always going to happen. They will go on you if you're the carry hitting the tower. And so if you think there's like a response that your team can have and that the opponent can't really bring you down, then hitting towers is good. If you think that the opponent can commit onto you and kill you, it doesn't matter what hero you're playing. It can be sniper, it could be, obviously it's different though because sniper's hitting from 1,000 range than it is if you're like a melee hero. But the thought is still the same. If I'm a melee hero, can they kill me here? It's just you're a little bit further up is all.
Yep. Yep, that's true. And in the end, the slow siege still kind of works. They don't dare to jump in full anymore. I remember I walked into a void remnant and then I got abyssaled. This one.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
The moment before disaster.
This was also Zeus's fault. me walking into the void.
Whatever Zeus is doing here, I don't know why he was positioned.
No,
that far
I'm
up,
joking.
but...
I'm joking.
I'm just saying he was positioned really far up for a weird reason.
So was I. Yeah. So
yeah, it's tough. It's tough when Ursa jumps you. You're kind of seeing it. Like if he uses his blink BKB to get on top of you, you just don't really have a response.
But it's cool to see that even in a game where we were 87%, it's Ursa that carried the hope for the enemy team. His net worth is a lot higher. That's why he could have things like, which I didn't even expect, that he's going to have Abyssal, Swift, and Vice. Because for much of the game, Ursa was split pushing the top all the time. And that also gave me the stress that we need to push enemy tower. Because, he's just getting away with it. And, there's many different ways to play Dota, and it's not necessarily the slow siege.
It's mainly the things you can do about, like what you can do about it. It's like sometimes there's gonna be a lot of shit as the carry role, especially that is going wrong, that you think is hurting you a lot in the game. And I've noticed I lose most of my games by trying to overcompensate. That's like usually how I lose. I feel rushed. I feel forced. Half the games that I'm losing or that are fitting this description that I end up winning are the games where I just kind of like accept this situation kind of sucks. I don't know what to do about it, so I'm just going to wait for my teammates to do something. Like that's generally how you end up winning the game. Yeah. It's surprising how often that works, by the way.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know if that like carries over to any of your past pro experience, but that's surprising for me at least.
Yeah, no,
strategy.
It carries over to my Warcraft Pro experience and also even to some cores that I've been watching. Yesterday, I had an Ursa level 3 that hated the lane. He thought our Dark Willow was useless, and I checked the replay. She kind of was. He TP'd bottom at level 3 and played the rest of the game from there as Dire. Really weird, but it worked out.
Yeah. It's like whenever you have teammates do stuff like that, you just ask yourself, what can I do with this shit? Like if you're the offlaner, should I go top? Should I support this guy for a minute and a half?
We all just left. We let him solo bots against Juggernauts.
That's what we think is the best option, then you just do it. I'd try not to ask questions because, like, usually if somebody's doing something really strange, there's not an actual answer, for what they're doing. So I find asking them doesn't really do much.
No, even asking yourself is usually bad. It's hard not to often. For example,
very difficult.
Why do I have a Midas Crystal Maiden? But the moment you start asking that, that's the way to madness.
Yes, that's when you don't look at your positioning for 5 seconds and then suddenly you're dying to smoke gank or something.
True.
That's my experience at least.
True.
But we're now seeing it. Like the thing about sniper is when you're no longer controlling the map anymore, like the opponent's all missing, you're constantly afraid of them. I'll just say you usually lose games like this. Sniper kind of relies on the opponent having to group up and then not being able to jump him. So if the game's like really split up, 4 different things happening at once, sniper usually loses those games.
Yeah.
So.
But we could have probably just kept control of the game without me being so antsy to push.
Exactly, yeah. That would have been as a carry hero for your own game, that would have been the optimal route for you.
Yeah. Wow, this was super helpful, BSJ. I don't know if you want to or have time to like play a live game or maybe another time.
I mean, if you're interested right now, I've definitely got time. I'm definitely down to do a live game.
Cool, let's do a live game.